He's so terrifying, he literally deserves his own movie. Not only could the movies not show Voldemort's worst act, but J.K. Rowling herself couldn't even write or publish it in the books. What if I told you that Voldemort might be the creepiest villain in all of fiction? Yes, I'm actually going to make that argument. I'm going to include Judge Holden from Blood Meridian. Listen, this judge is probably the worst of the worst. He's the most sadistic. He's as creepy as they get. You got guys like Art the Clown who you just can't even understand. They're just weird serial killer psychos, right? But I'm going to be honest. Voldemort is a very, very sick individual mentally, and the movies don't even touch upon how sick he is. I call him the Jeffrey Dahmer of the Wizarding world. I've been saying it from day one. The only difference between them is Voldemort is seemingly straight, but I'm going to be honest, Voldemort's sexual deviancy will be touched upon in this video, and you'll have no idea how dark this man gets. Now, I am not a book fan. I don't read books. Look at me. I do too much drugs, too much devil's dandruff. I don't condone the use of drugs at all, by the way. I disown it. I am not someone that should be emulated in any form, all right? Don't do drugs, everyone, all right? But Harry Potter, I think this might be the only series I've read through fully. And even then, I'm not sure I even finished it. But the movies, I'm a big fan, especially Half-Blood Prince. I do think that's the best Harry Potter film, partly because it dives a bit deeper into Voldemort himself, and it shows you just how twisted he was at a young, early age. There was something wrong with this kid. He was detached. He was always abnormal in the mind. Now, I always found Voldemort to be a villain that wasn't that deep. There wasn't a lot of substance to him. He's just a dude who wanted power, wanted to kill Harry because he wanted to be immortal and stuff, right? I didn't really find that much depth in this character. I thought they could have actually expanded on him. I really was more interested in the lore that J.K. Rowling had set up in the books that could have been adapted to the movies, but I get it. It's a series about Harry Potter. But I love the idea that this man, through every unspeakable act and sin he commits, his face, his body starts to become grotesque and distorted, and he starts to look like a monster. And we don't even see what his true form, the most hideous form, is in the movie. But it all goes back to his earliest act of malice when he was a child. What occurred at the cave? In Harry Potter, Dumbledore and Harry go to find the first Horcrux. They teleport to this place, a cave in some scary looking hill, right? This cave houses the Horcrux, and Voldemort set various traps for any people who try to violate this place, right? And I always wondered to myself, why this cave? Why did Voldemort choose this place to house a Horcrux? What significance did it play in his life? Well, in the books, when Voldemort was a kid, his orphanage took a little field trip down here to this hillside where Voldemort would find a cave that he would frequent to. And not all the other kids knew about it, but he would take 2 orphans with him and perform an unspeakable act in this cave that would traumatize them for the rest of time. And nobody knows what really occurred down here. What did he do to the orphans? It's a very good question. Now, the title of this video is a bit misleading, I'll be honest, because there's not just one scene, one act that Voldemort committed that makes him vile, all right? There are 2. The second one might be the worst one ever, but this one's almost as bad. Now, he's a kid. That's the only reason why this act isn't as bad as the one we're about to mention. But a lot of people theorize, okay, did he just torture the kids because they were bullying him? Did he screw with their minds and do some kind of spell torture? I think he showed them something horrifying. Now, it's known that Voldemort, as a kid, would kill animals. He's a psychopath, right? He was just murdering and mutilating animals. I believe maybe a possibility here is he killed a kitten or some dog and then resurrected it or reanimated it and had it scare the kids. That's one possibility. The other thing is, I believe that this cave was the site of a murder that took place, but not by Voldemort's hand. There was a corpse that Voldemort found as a kid. Didn't tell anyone about it. He would probably come down to look at it, and he would have an obsession with death, because Voldemort is very obsessed with escaping death. That's a big part of his character, right? He would find a corpse of a kid, maybe, or something. And he would see it, maybe he would perform magical experiments then, but he would see it and be obsessed with it. So he took the kids down here, and maybe he reanimated the dead body. Just to screw with them, to screw with their minds so he can show power dominance on them. He reanimated the body, maybe he had it lunge at the kids or something, and this traumatized them. This is how sick and twisted this kid was. Tom Riddle wanted to show these kids who the real man in the house was, what real power and fear is. But his absolute worst act. None of these things, by the way, were written for the movies, and were not even touched upon barely in the books. They're hinted at all the time. Horcruxes. One of the darkest things a wizard can do. What's the significance here? Well, we know that to do a Horcrux, you got to kill somebody to split your soul. Killing someone in the wizarding world is a violation of nature of the highest order. It will split your soul. And we know that Voldemort likes to split his soul, so he can take pieces of the souls and put them into objects so that he can prolong his life, because there's always a piece of his soul in case his physical body is destroyed, right? Now, he killed a lot of people, split his soul a lot of different ways, and his face, his body started to change into a grotesque monstrous form. The Voldemort we see in the movies is nothing compared to what he looked like in the books. He's red-eyed, snake monster. He looks horrifying. Now, this doesn't account for how he took the pieces of soul and put them into objects. Killing someone doesn't do that. That just splits the soul. You need to perform an entire different spell to have your soul be moved into objects. And there's a specific ritual that was used. Now, keep in mind, when he killed Lily Potter in the pursuit of killing Harry, her sacrifice, her love, caused like a little shield around her son that caused Voldemort's killing curse to rebound on himself and destroy his body. All right, so he was saved. Harry was saved, and part of Voldemort's soul, because Lily has died, Voldemort's body has been destroyed. The soul needs a living host to jump in, so it latched onto the only living thing it could find, which is Harry. So keep this in mind. Souls need to go into living things. They can't go into objects on their own. You need a specific ritual to do this, and a very dark one. Now, taking all this in mind, I thought maybe Voldemort, because he didn't want any living thing within a certain radius of this spell, he didn't want any living thing to be around in case that could leave an opening for this piece of soul to latch onto that and cause problems for Voldemort, because he doesn't want his soul going into some random person or animal. So it's possible he nuked everyone within a certain radius of the spell, killed them all. Brutally. Babies, children, animals, anything nearby, he killed them all. That's a very disgusting, vile terrorist act, right? But this wouldn't make much sense. There are two arguments to refute this. One, his first kill in Hogwarts, I believe, was Moaning Myrtle. If he did this to her, that means a lot of collateral damage in the form of students around Hogwarts or in the blast radius would have had to been killed at the same time. And we would have known if there was that many casualties. Like Dumbledore and some of his crew would have figured out, okay, there are a lot of people dying all of a sudden, and they would have cracked down on Tom Riddle. Tom Riddle would have never allowed suspicion to be drawn like this. So that kind of removes that. Maybe he could have taken more Moaning Myrtle somewhere else, but he killed her in Hogwarts. Now, J.K. Rowling has said that when this ritual, the specifics of the ritual, she had concepted it in her mind, but when she showed it to her publisher nearly puked, because of how vile and disgusting the acts that Voldemort was doing were. Both her and the publisher were like, I don't know if we can write this. So what the heck did he do to create this ritual that would cause a soul to go into an object? He would have to recite some kind of incantation, but he would have to be doing something grotesque. A lot of fan theories have theorized, okay, maybe after he killed the person and split his soul, he would do something to the corpse. He would defile it, either through cannibalism, necrophilia, or a death kiss. Only problem is, Voldemort made sure that the bodies that he killed were squeaky clean, so no wizards could come near them and see any damage or trace any damage with magic. Voldemort can cover up wounds with magic, but someone like Dumbledore could trace back all the spells that were used on the body and figure out that there was damage done to the body, and then that would leave a spiritual paper trail on Voldemort, right? So Voldemort probably didn't do anything to the body. He probably did it to himself, a form of self-mutilation of the most disgusting order. What I'm about to say? YouTube, please don't demonetize me. I'm not showing anything. We're talking about life force energy here. When Lily James died, her life force created a pulse, created a spell itself. I believe that a release of energy in the form of orgasm and pain was necessary to trap the soul. Trap the soul that was cut from him, right? How this would work is, remember, black magic rituals, there are many black magic rituals. In all of them, let's say a woman is having sex with a man. Upon his climax, she will stab him so that the spiritual energies let out and the spell can be cast. So, let's say Voldemort found a couple of pictures of Kate Beckinsale that he carries with him, all right? Who can blame him? And he tosses one off, and once he climaxes, he uses a knife to cut himself and mutilate himself badly in the genitalia so that the spell can be created, this spiritual energy. So he would be effectively torturing his manhood for power. That's essentially what he'd be doing. Basically, what Le Chiffre did to James Bond in Casino Royale, Voldemort would be doing that to himself every time he killed someone, except he'd be using a blade, and he'd be do it. It's horrendous. And we know Voldemort would not be opposed to this. Voldemort does not care how physically deformed he looks. We know this. He's okay with looking like an idiot, like a snaked out crackhead, if he gets what he wants, which is a body that works, one, and immortality. That's what he's always been seeking. So I don't think he cares that his genitalia looks bad. As long as he can use it, and we know he's banged Bellatrix Lestrange, at least that's been theorized. Worst looking, most terrifying looking man parts ever. But as long as he can use them, as long as he can use his body to do whatever he needs to do to live longer, he doesn't care how ugly he looks. Remember, expanding on this kind of stuff on this side of Voldemort shows one thing, how obsessed with living he is. Because remember, he hates muggles because of the way he was raised. His mother was a wizard who was abused by the muggle side of his family, and he went on to kill all of them in revenge, right? He associates death as a weakness reserved for muggles, and therefore no wizard should be able to die. He believes he is superior, so he should have the ability to live. Otherwise, he'll be like the people he hates. It's like a really deep insecurity, and the movies barely touch on this, and they could have expanded. This entire lore could be used to expand this side of this character and make him one of the greatest villains of all time. So, instead of doing the stupid garbage Fantastic Beasts movies, which are horrible, the only good thing about them was Mads Mikkelsen and Johnny Depp, and they shot the bed. Instead of doing this crap, you should have expanded on Voldemort, either through an origin movie or something else. Now, in the upcoming Harry Potter TV series, I think it's rumored that Cillian Murphy might be cast as Voldemort. Great casting, but you need to introduce this lore. I'm not saying you have to show a sex ritual, but you need to delve into the side of how dark and creepy this guy is. You could do a horror miniseries, like a prequel series, beginning childhood years, showing his mom's trauma, how he freaking nuked his father's side of the family for her, and then you show his Hogwarts years when he's trying to thwart Dumbledore and study dark magic and all this stuff, and then we get him ascending. Towards the end of the show, the finale, we see him ascending to Dark Lord status, and then we kills Harry Potter's mother, and then we get that as a connection point to the Harry Potter TV series. Do you know how good of an idea that would be? A horror series around Voldemort? It would be better than Netflix's attempt to glorify Jeffrey Dahmer's murders and victims. I feel like it's very problematic that Netflix does that. That's screwed up. You should be doing it with fictional characters like Voldemort, and you'd make money. Everyone knows this IP. Everyone would love to see an R-rated horror flick with Voldemort. This guy's a freak, okay? And imagine how much hype it would build up. One, it would get people rewatching Harry Potter because, oh my god, they'd see Voldemort, this villain in a child's fantasy show, in a child's fantasy series, in a new light. There's new context. Voldemort's a weirdo, a creep. It'd be a lot scarier for them, right? And it would build up so much hype for a TV show or a spin-off with Harry Potter. They want to see anything with Harry Potter, anything that connects to Voldemort now, because you just built up this crazy villain as a dark, scary dude, and now he's going to be in Harry Potter? Of course, this gives people a reason to watch this. I don't want to see Harry Potter rebooted and the same story done over again, probably worse. But if you give me a Voldemort series that leads him to this, okay, then I might be interested, because Voldemort's a whole different villain now. If you want to make money, use these ideas, HBO Max. I don't take anything. I won't take any money. Just Coke, okay? That is how you do it. Do it. That's the ultimate pitch. Just take this idea, y'all. If you want to know who the true scariest Dark Lord is in fiction, it's not Voldemort. Voldemort's up there, but there's someone even darker and scarier. Watch this video here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movie theories with like-minded individuals in a community geared towards changing storytelling itself, join the free Discord now. The link is in the description below and probably in the comment section too. Join the Discord now. We're taking over Hollywood one Coke line at a time. See you on the other side.